Hello and welcome to Etiquette Conversations with EFI and Shirley, where we redefine modern etiquette one conversation at a time. As we have published today, our topic is invitations, RSVPs, thank you notes, how and when to respond to them. As you know, etiquette is where elegance meets intention and civility. Actually, it is a lifestyle, it's not just a lesson. In our fast paced world, when often overlooked, these common courtesies become um, the texture to our interactions. I'm going to allow my co-host to introduce herself at this time.
All right. Hi, Effie, and thank you for the introduction. Indeed, I am Shirley Shelby, and we are very happy, both of us, to receive you in our channel talking about RSVP, the etiquette of RSVP, the know how of RSVP, and of course, the meaning. So, I intend to cover 5 or 6 points related to that subject: the meaning and the definition, the importance, why do we pay such attention to it and why is it important, the role of the host or the person that sends out the RSVP, and the role of the invitee, the person who is supposed to reply, and how when should the host send it out and when should the person reply, and what are the reasons that make people sometimes not to reply. So these are several points, but I'll try to be very brief. First of all, as a definition, this is an abbreviation. Does
Hello.
have a meaning. It does, excuse me.
Go on,
It does
Shirley.
have it does have a moral meaning. It's the cornerstone of etiquette. Indeed, it shows respect, it shows civility. I am sending you an invitation and I would like you to respond. So it does have a very important meaning. When I respond in a very intelligent way to the brief expression of RSVP by yes and no. It shows my it's an intelligent way of answering. It shows I'm listening to you and I'm answering you, I'm reacting to you, and of course. And it has a logistic meaning, which is very, very important. Why should we RSVP? We RSVP so that we can guide um, the host, so that the host can figure out or visualize the size of the invitation. The number of people who answered are the numbers of people supposed to be the number of people who are attending. So therefore he can decide or she can decide the catering, the number of tables, of chairs. So the whole logistic is clear when people respond, and when people respond, they show civility and unselfishness. I appreciate your invitation, and indeed, I will respond. When should the host really normally send out an invitation? Now, when I say invitation, it could be a social gathering like a birthday or an official gathering of a big party like a wedding, or it could be corporate invitations for meetings, for conferences. Normally, the invitation is sent out some 6 weeks ahead of time.
Right.
And then normally there should be a reminder some 3 weeks later for the invitation. And the when should the person respond? Actually, we advise the people to respond right away. And make sure when you respond, that is usually the invitation comes on a certain platform, which could be WhatsApp, which could be by mail, which could be by specific platform.
Okay, we lost Shirley there. I'm sure she's going to be back very soon. And once she comes back, I'll admit her. However, like she was saying, when to send the invitation. Now, for formal events like weddings, like balls, or for corporate galas, an invitation should be sent 6 to 8 weeks in advance. For less formal events like dinner parties or casual brunches, it could be sent 2 to 3 weeks. That is very appropriate. Now, I would want to add to what she was saying. Shirley is back, and so we'll admit her in. Welcome back, Shirley.
Well, I wonder how much did we miss. Here I'm advising the host, please be very specific with your invitation. Is it for Mr. and Mrs.? Are children involved? Is there a section giving you a chance to choose the menu if you have a specific request for menus? And the invitee should answer the same, whether there is a plus one, whether children are coming, whether is it just Mr. or Mr. and Mrs. Please be specific in your reply. I advise, do not use abbreviations, use a very clear language of yes or no. Would you like to add? If you'd like to add a thank you or wishing them the best, that's also nice, to add a personal note. However, you match the language of the invitation, please, and match the same platform. If you are invited by mail, do not answer by telephone, and vice versa. The
I
same,
agree.
to make it easy for the host to decide the size of the invitation. Well, honestly, some people forget to answer, or they think I'm not going, so I'm not answering. I don't think this is polite, and I don't think this is very intelligent. Even if you're not coming, you can send a nice apology again for the sake of the host to decide the size of the event. And but what are the reasons that make people forget? Sometimes by experience I realized if the host does not send a reminder like some 2 weeks before, the person invited may forget. So
Right.
please, invitation and reminder equals RSVP. So yes, it is a French term that is found in every invitation and in every language, and it's becoming common really for global etiquette. Everybody says, please RSVP. Very clear. Would you like to add something?
Certainly, Shirley. First of all, I would want to say what is RSVP? It is Répondez s'il vous plaît, which
Mhm.
means please reply. But before I delve into RSVP, I want to talk about invitations. Now, what is invitation? It is a
Mhm.
common call to courtesy. It is more than a card. It is actually more than a call as well, or a ping on your phone. Invitations, they are honor that people extend to us. Like Emily Post said something. She said, an invitation is a symbol of trust and esteem. Now, whether it is formal or informal, every invitation is intentional. And when someone gives you an invitation, the person is intentional and the person respects you. It's an honor. It calls to the esteem that the person places on you. Now, it is very symbolic. It's people opening up themselves to you, whether personally or professionally. They open up themselves to you. And for a guest to receive one. Now, whether it's tea, whatever gathering, you will receive an invitation. Now, I would want to add the etiquette guidelines. Like you said earlier, when it's a formal event, it's 6 to 8 weeks. If it's a formal event, for less formal events, so maybe 2 to 3 weeks. Another thing worthy of note is, what are the 5 W's to invitation? It is who, the host, and the guest. I call it the 5 W's, and I see Shirley smiling. Now, the next W is what? That's the event. The third W is when, which is the date and the time. Then the
Mhm.
fourth W is where, which is the venue. And the last W is why, the occasion and the purpose. Now, if you have these in your mind every time, you will know that no invitation is complete until the 5 W's are present. Now, some people would even go ahead to add the dress code
Mm,
for the invitation. They would go ahead to add the dress code. Another point I would want to touch again is the format and the tone. Like you mentioned earlier, if someone has given you a handwritten invitation, you want to respond the same way. And the tone that is used, if it's a digital invitation via paperless post or electronic invite, you want to do the same and do it with care. What are the delivery methods? If email is what was using these days, emails are acceptable ways because people now live far away from other people. But if you actually consider the time of 6 to 8 weeks, then you're sure that if you're sending a handwritten invitation, it would have gone there. And it is also a delicate way to ensure your guest is listed and confirmed. And then on invitations, I want to finally put a refinement tip for our listeners. The invitation isn't just about details, it is about the atmosphere. So choose your language carefully, and that's a refinement tip.
absolutely.
Phrases like cordially invites or request the pleasure are things that still carry a level of elegance and conveys intention. I think I want us to now go into RSV, the respect of response, as you were saying. Let's go ahead and listen to you on RSVP.
Exactly. And if the language is respectful, like we have the pleasure of inviting you and so on, the response should match the language and
Right,
should
right. That's the tone.
atmosphere. Level is all elevated into
Mhm.
this.
Right.
And because honestly, for inviting me, so I am answering with a lot of respect. And if I am not coming, I could add a word in favor of the apology.
Right.
um, this is all part of communication. Had it been communication in one
Mhm.
company, in one group of friends, in one city, or even globally. If we attend conferences now, we attend lots of conferences online, and the RSVP is always the first thing to look at and to respond to. That is a happy subject. I always like to talk about happy
Actually,
subjects and
there's something
positive
that
subjects.
Debret said, and I'll quote it. Failing to RSVP, which is again for our listeners, RSVP is répondez s'il vous plaît, and that's a French word phrase, and in English it is please reply. Debret said, failing to RSVP is an act of discourtesy that places the host in a position of uncertainty and discomfort. Unquote. Shirley, talk to us about the guidelines for the etiquette guidelines for RSVP. What are the etiquette guidelines?
Etiquette guidelines, as far as I'm concerned, it's communication and sudden communication. Do answer in the 48 hours after the invitation. And if you change your mind, if you happen to answer, to reply positively, yes, indeed, I'm coming, and after 10 days something comes up, it is in your duty to answer again and to send another reply that is extremely clear on the same platform, matching the same language, and saying force majeure, since we are into French expressions. Force majeure, yeah, means I couldn't help it, my conditions changed, so indeed I cannot attend. So as far as I'm concerned, and communication is so important, as we always say, communication is in trade, is in culture, is in education, and in corporate life. It is needed all the time, never
Right,
to leave things hanging.
right. So,
And we
to,
that you send us requests if you need more information around the subject
yeah, so I'll add to
and
what you have
practice. The
said.
RSVP could be on the birthday of a child.
So, like Shirley was saying, remember to our listeners, remember that how to respond is 24 to 48 hours is ideal. Even if the event is weeks away, you can, once you get the invitation, between 24 to 48 hours is proper. Shirley also have mentioned that we should match the formality, and she has talked about the emergencies if you ever get one. There's something that I would add to that: plus ones and
Absolutely.
children. Plus ones and children. Uh, Guests should never assume that they are invited unless the invitation states so explicitly. Don't take your plus one to an event without proper information. If unclear, inquire discreetly from the host, and also try not to put the host uh, in a situation where the person has to accept your plus one. The invitation states it clearly. If it is for Mr. and Mrs., then it means Mr. and Mrs. If it states Mr., means only the man is
Absolutely.
invited. And then again, to conclude RSVP, before we go into thank you notes, I'm going to add a refinement tip. A refined guest is punctual and replies. A refined guest honors commitments and expresses sincere regrets when unavoidably unavailable. The RSVP is not, it's more than logistics. It is your handshake when you are distant. It is elegance and it is emotional intelligence that you honor the invitation given. Now we are going to go into our third and final segment of today's topic: thank you notes. I call it, Shirley, I call it the ink of gratitude. And so I
Mhm.
want you to talk to us about everything about thank you notes.
If we have the time, yeah, thank you notes. It is so important. Like for instance, some people, usually we get invited into social gatherings, social parties that has nothing to do with corporate. So the host or the hostess, they create a group on WhatsApp, which is a very easy platform for communication, and they write the post one time and add the names of people, so everybody knows who is being invited. Personally, I don't go for that. I love personal invitation. I love to receive an invitation in my name and then
Mhm.
to reply to it. So, however, you got to the party, and then you were happy and so on, and every person is presenting a gift. So therefore the host is supposed to send private and personal thank you note to everybody and talk about the gift. Thank you, I love this perfume. Or thank you, I will use it every day, whatever, depending on the kind of gift. But if also the host sends out a communal thank you note and thanking everybody for the gifts, for their gift, it becomes so impersonal. So thank you note is a personal way to appreciate a nice gesture, and it's also an intelligent way, and it shows civility. The more personal it gets, the nicer it is. And this I'm addressing brides and grooms who receive gifts for their weddings, to send separate thank you notes. What I did with my daughter, when I printed out the invitations of the wedding, I printed for her thank you notes. So
Right.
during her honeymoon, she was busy. She had the list of gifts, sending out or preparing a thank you note for every person. So indeed, it has to be personal, to
So
be
I call thank you notes, like I said, the ink of gratitude. And I think it is the legacy of gracious people,
Mhm.
especially in a world that is so instant, with instant messages dominating everything. A handwritten thank you
Absolutely.
note shows a lot of gratitude.
Mhm.
It
Oh,
makes anyone receiving it feel very special. It is a rose in the garden. In fact, one of our greatest etiquette writers, Amy Vanderbilt, asserted that, and I'll read it. It says, "Nothing is so appreciated as a sincere thank you note expressed with
mhm.
clarity and humility." Actually, I would say that thank you note actually speaks a lot of volume, not just gratitude, but it says a lot about the character of
For the
the
person.
writer.
Mm.
It talks about how elegant, again, and how emotionally intelligent you are. And for
Yeah.
me, the etiquette guidelines for thank you note is within 48 hours for dinners and casual hospitality, and then within a week for gifts or for professional courtesies. Now, for wedding and milestone events, I think 3 months is still acceptable, because don't forget, they are off on their honeymoon. They are just supposed to enjoy themselves and not communicate. And then when they come back, they now have to go through the gifts and then send out thank you notes. Next, I'll talk about when to. Okay, I talked about already, I entered when. And then what do you include in a thank you note? It should include the salutation, the person, "Dear Shirley." That means I have
It's
saluted and I have
the
named
kind
as well.
of
Go on.
description, personal description. Why do I thank you
Description of the gift, right?
of the
Description of the gift, and then
person?
you can also state what it meant to you to receive such gift, and
Exactly.
then it expresses future goodwill. So if I say, "Dear Aunt Shirley, thank you for the pearl brooch," so which means I have named the gift. It was so thoughtful and timeless. I look forward to wearing it at my next event or at my next lecture. Imagine you sending me a gift, and the next time we have etiquette conversations with Effie and Shirley, you see me wearing that gift. You would just love it. You would just feel that I really appreciate what you have done. Now, let's talk about handwritten or digital. Remember that for invitations and for RSVP, we talked about the means through which you send it. Handwritten notes should be used whenever possible. Like Shirley said earlier, it reflects your character, it reflects your sincerity, and it reflects actually how elegant you are. Email thank you notes are acceptable, especially in a fast paced world. But if you can, which wants to define your character and how elegant you are, please send thank you notes if your mail system is really working. Now, Shirley, I want you to talk to us about stationery of thank you notes, the stationery you use.
The stationery. Uh, Usually, if you receive an invitation by post, which usually in big events, like I usually help out organize big events related to fashion, like Fashion Week, we send it out by post. We're very sure they get it. And then we send with it like a self addressed envelope in a
Mm,
love stationery. It goes all with the same theme of the invitation, so people would respond on the cell with the self-addressed envelope. That makes it very easy with a stamp on it, and send it out as stationery as elegant as possible. It could be colored depending on the theme. It could be pink, blue, or whatever. I'm a very creative person, so
mm.
as elegant it could be with recycled paper. Here in Egypt, we use a lot of recycled papers or papyrus papers, like something really that no one can forget, that could keep
Right,
as a gift itself. And the elegant and the language should be, of course, elegant and authentic, simple, authentic, and clear, please. Um,
right.
they know indeed I'm arriving, I'm coming or not coming.
Right. Now, I would say that gratitude, remember, gratitude is never too late. It's better early. If you
Mhm.
miss, if you miss the window, a belated thank you note will still suffice. It takes humility to actually acknowledge delay. Now, in closing, I would want to say, uh, let's gather today pearls of civility. Invitations, extend them with thoughts, extend them with precision, extend them with warmth. When you RSVP, honor people with timelessness and sincerity. Thank you notes, write them with clarity. That's one word I got from Shirley. Write them with clarity, write them with character, write them with grace. These three things are social rituals. They are foundational etiquette principles. They are not just mere traditions. They are enduring testaments of how we value people. Remember, the way we interact is the currency of life. If, as we continue to navigate our digital paced world, let's not forget, let's not also abandon the timeless, refined values of etiquette. And I am your host, Efi, and again with me is,
And I'm Shirley.
thank you very much. Join us next time on Etiquette Conversations with Efi and Shirley. Don't forget to send us topics you would want us to talk about. And we're glad to be in your rooms, in your phones, and whatever means you're using to watch this program. Thank you.
Thank you. See you
Bye,
next.
Shirley.